2nd and 12 for the Hurricanes.
And nice play right there by the Gator defense. Get involved, get in the backfield, keep disrupting things.
So 2nd and 12 now. And we're going to see Bo Yost running. Bo Yost making cuts. Bo Yost down the middle of the field. 10, 5, touchdown! Miami! Bo Yost, his 2nd touchdown of the night.
We got one returner. We got one new guy this week. There we go. Welcome back to the Cole Mantell Show. I am Cole Mantell, podcast number 28 of the series. And we got two guests here. I guess I'll start with the guy who's been here 2 weeks in a row now, but he won his first round game. I think he has a right to be in here. David Ware, AD of Alabama, how you doing?
I'm doing good, my friend. Glad to be back. Appreciate the opportunity to be part of the show.
Awesome. And we have the guy that you beat actually in that first round, but I'm not going to introduce him that way. The number 16 seed, put up a good fight. AD of the Clemson Tigers, Logan Wetzel. It's been a while since we've had you on the show. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I think it was about mid-season. I think it was like week 3 or week 4 into the season, and we still had no idea what was going to happen. So that made for an entertaining conversation. I'm glad to see things have unfolded a little bit since.
Well, we talked before the show about the bracket and how it's playing out. Even Ware on this show last week was talking about your matchup and how much fun it was going to be. We'll get into it in a minute here, but you guys go out in the first round. To be fair, I went out in the first round too. So we'll get into all of that. I guess we'll just simply start with the first round. Obviously, 8 games to go over. We're not going to go all over them in detail, but I guess I'll start with you two and your game on. It was on Thursday, right?
It was Wednesday.
Or was it Wednesday? So back and forth. Obviously, Alabama is going to take it. Number 1 seed, that whole left side of the bracket, all the top seeded teams, I guess, won it. I'll start with you, Logan, just because you lost the game. Talk about going into that game, how you felt, what you were thinking, and the game itself.
Yeah, we're not going to avoid the facts. Week 2, still pretty early in the season, we played a really tough Alabama team, and we lost 65-9. So obviously, we were talking about this before the show started. Can't get much worse. So obviously, navigating around that mercy rule loss that we had, I think it was the only mercy rule loss during the regular season and so far through the playoffs. Obviously, not the same Clemson team. Definitely not the same Alabama team either. In a better way. I mean, Bama had improved in so many ways since then themselves. It was our first playoff appearance since season 16 for Clemson. So obviously a very historic moment for us. It was a heck of a voting situation we had the week before. I mean, we got in the 3rd voting spot, just ahead of North Carolina there. Very grateful to have been afforded that opportunity. I was a little nervous watching the selection show, thinking that, I know David Ware does his homework, so I'm just thinking, oh man, he's got a lot of data on Clemson already. So, I mean, if he's smart, very intelligent guy, he's going to pick us. And sure enough, it happened. And, I think we did a lot of other teams in the league a favor by playing Bama week 1. But, if you're good enough, you're going to advance week after week, and eventually you will run into a very tough Alabama team.
I will mention, by the way, he is a stat kind of guy, and then he went on the show and basically admitted it was just a personal grudge. No, they challenged me. They challenged me. I want them, so therefore I'm going to take them, even though there were other teams that I could have taken instead. That's basically what he said.
We didn't challenge him. We just asked. We inquired.
We could show us a snapshot of the direct message. Please pick us.
Who said that?
Hold up.
Please pick us. I want to know who said that.
You want to know who said that? Okay.
I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna like note this down. Let's see, it's like 4 minutes into this show. I'm gonna put this like on the bottom of the screen somewhere, just so I can, like, what's it called? Have it on here, just for any purposes, because that did seem to happen. I think we discussed this last week.
Yeah, he very much, and I'm going through our messages. We have talked quite a bit. So hold on, I'm going to find it, and where he reached out to me and asked us to pick him.
Who's he?
You. I mean, what else would I be talking about? Wait, here we go. February 28th, 2025 at 8:10 a.m. Y'all gonna pick us if we get voted in? I said it's a possibility, depends. And so he very much reached out to me, hoping that we would pick him. I mean, let's just be honest. Call for what it is, Logan. Don't back out of it now. Don't be afraid to tell your team that you asked for Bama and you got Bama.
I asked. I didn't tell you to do anything.
For the record, I don't think I can post that now because I realize it's a DM, but it's still hilarious. So, funny enough, so I want to bring this back to you, Logan. So Dante De La Vega, sophomore receiver for you guys, previously in his entire career had, let's see, like, I don't think he even had more than one reception in a game his freshman year. He had 113 yards in his sophomore year against Michigan. You guys win that game. And then he had 100 yards in the win you guys have over North Carolina, which probably got you in these playoffs to begin with. So your two biggest wins this year, you have him getting a lot of yards. Was that an idea to target him in this game?
Yeah, really just getting the passing attack involved altogether. And, I was really nervous about doing that, knowing that Alabama had just a loaded defensive backfield. We had to do similar against Florida State, and their defensive backfield's loaded too. I think we learned real quick, though, that and this is kind of a discussion that's going around the league chats and AD chats and whatnot, is just understanding that if you have a receiver with really good capabilities, oftentimes they can outmatch a defensive back also with good capabilities. But doesn't mean a good defensive back isn't valuable. It just, it goes to show, just like in real life, you got a strong receiver. They call it mossing. I mean, we saw that a couple of times against Alabama where De La Vega's going up for passes, and it's like, how in the heck did he just do that? And it's just incredible to do that against highly talented teams like we did. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say getting him involved directly was a consideration, but getting our whole wide receiver core involved was definitely our biggest part of the game plan.
So, I'll bring it back to you then, Ware. Closer win than earlier in the season when you mercied these guys. Johnny Ray Davis rushes for over 100 yards. Kryzen Mai rushes for over 100 yards. We talked before the show about rushing offense in general, me and you. So I'm going to assume that just rushing offense in general is a big strategy for you guys against these Clemson Tigers.
We wanted to do a little something different. Than the first matchup, and so we went slightly different and wanted to take an opportunity. And we also knew what the weather was going to be. We knew there was a high chance of some high winds. We knew that there was a small chance of rain, and so we didn't want to have the ball in the air too much. So we wanted to keep it on the ground to avoid the wind.
Yeah, it works out for you guys in general. 41-31 the final score. And Alabama moves on, number one seed, no jinx yet. We talked about the left side of that bracket. The lower seed wins, the right side of the bracket, the higher seed wins. So you guys will face Colorado next week in one of 4 quarterfinal games. And then Clemson, you guys will head to the offseason. I mean, you guys got a pretty young team. We talked about this with the last time you were on the show. You have, let me count it again. 1, 2 upperclassmen, right? That's it?
We would typically have 3 between Rocky Fink.
I see it. Percy
King and Mr. Pollard. So, we're in really good shape moving forward.
Yeah, that's a lot of sophomores. in 3 years. You're gonna have a problem, buddy.
Don't remind me.
That's. Is there something I should know about in like 3 seasons? Do you have like a vacation to Cancun you have scheduled?
Yeah, I was just actually in Cancun 3 weeks ago, and I actually missed a lot for the CFSL that weekend, so I'm trying not to plan too many more Cancun vacations coming up.
Yeah, you're gonna be needed very heavily. What is that? September, like 3 seasons from now. Hey. But yeah, I mean, you don't have a whole bunch to replace. There's definitely room to improve. I'm just looking, through it. I'm gonna assume you're gonna look for another halfback, probably, maybe another wide receiver or two. Defense, down the board. You want to replace some of those 3 stars, probably with 4 or 5 stars. Is that the idea?
And we're on a 1 scholarship sanction this season, and that falls off at the end of the season, and we get an extra scholarship back as well. So we're losing Silk Jefferson as well due to him no longer being a protected assistant head coach. So that'll be another one. So yes, that should be the plan. We will have space for plenty of eager individuals this offseason to come join the Clemson Tigers. I'm really excited about next season, just how young we are and how good we already are. I think it makes everybody even more nervous, though, knowing that the ACC is already like this close, and now it's just I just think it's going to get even closer, and it's going to be ACC is going to be a hell of a ride next year.
Yeah, I'm just going through the stats, and then we'll move on to Alabama here in a second. Bojack in his freshman season, 3,000 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 21 sacks, and then he had 2 fumbles with it. I'm gonna assume the 17 turnovers. That's the biggest thing in terms of like game planning. You're looking at.
That really, and some of those he would play really good a good majority of the game, and it was just there's a couple where it's just right there down the stretch that just really would burn us there in the fourth quarter. I would say a lot, but that's not really a Bojack. I mean, the dude's a freshman. And he's leading a very young team himself. He was trying to improve on the field throughout the season as well. He's a phenomenal person. Played with him at Bowling Green my first season in the CFSL. Yes, ultimately we want to minimize our turnovers, but that isn't just Bojack. That's a several area issue.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you for that mini interview there. I'm going to move on to David. Because you guys get Colorado. We talked last week how you wanted to play Auburn, but Colorado gets quite a close win. That was a really good game. 34-31 your final score.
The comeback.
And so, yeah. So now you guys get Colorado in, let's see here. You get a chance to get your 100th win at home. I can talk, I promise. And you got to play a pretty damn good rushing offense again to do it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So it could be Alabama's 100th win. It will be my personal 100th game at Alabama in my career, which I think is pretty interesting. I went through and I counted up what games I've missed. So I've been here for 100 or 99 out of 156 games. So it'll be my 100th game and then 100th win, hopefully. But, it's huge. We'll be able to be at home and let our fans celebrate being the 5th team to reach 100 wins in the CFSL.
Yeah, really going to be, a big moment, I'm sure. You're going to be on the call for that, aren't you, too?
No, I am not. They're working to try to keep the ADs off their own games the rest of the way out.
Oh, I gotcha. Oh, shit. Does that mean I'm going to be on the call? I told Murph I might be calling games next week, so that there is a non-zero chance I'm on the game. Oh, no. We'll see. We'll see if I even am in the booth the next week, but if I am, that's going to be hilarious. But, okay, so good game for you as well. The other part of it as well, so Johnny Ray Davis, we talked about before the show, not built as a running quarterback. I kind of want you to expand on the show. Like, he has gotten over 500 rushing yards this season.
Yeah, he has, and he has done a good job. I think this year we have gave up the least amount of sacks. Previously, Johnny Ray Davis has been under a lot of pressure. His turnovers were higher. He wasn't able to get outside the pocket. He was constantly under pressure. This year, he's only been sacked 10 times. So he's had a lot of time to go through his progressions, get all of his reads, make a decision, and he's done a great job. He's known when to take off and run. I mean, I'm just super excited. He doesn't have the most passing yards. He doesn't have the most rushing yards, but he, in my mind, has been the most complete quarterback. And I think he's second or third in touchdowns. So, I mean, his decision making this year, because of the time that he has, I think has been a big difference.
Alrighty. So before we move on from the first round, and thank you, Ware, again. Texas A&M and Michigan. I want to touch on that game because I think you were on the call for that one, right? Where? Or no, that was Jeff and Ryan. Yeah, because he called ours that day too.
Yeah,
I was not in the call for that.
Yeah,
David and I's game was up next, so it was a heck of a predecessor.
That game, oh boy. I wish we had Kate on this week. We had him on last week because I think, I've been a part of a few overtime games, both as a player and as an AD, and I like to say on this show they caused me to have a heart attack. A playoff OT game that I think it was like 4 overtimes? Three
overtimes.
Oh my god. So you guys are watching that too, I assume.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I guess I'll get your AD thoughts on that. I'll start with you, Ware. Freaking crazy.
I mean, that's one of those games I absolutely felt horrible for both of them, just because it's one of those games you don't want to see anyone lose. Michigan had a pretty solid lead, and it looked like Cade was going to have a one and done this season, and they came back 21 points with 7. They were down 20 or 21 points with 7 minutes left in the game, and. I don't know if you guys remember, but in the chat, I was joking around, and they were still down. I said, we're about to have an overtime game. And we sure enough did. And everyone thought I was crazy, but, I mean, I felt it was coming. But it was a game where you could tell both teams put everything into that game plan. And, it was a darn good game.
Yeah, it was 38-24 at the end of the third quarter. A&M scores 21 points in that fourth quarter, get to overtime, and then, as you said, 3 overtime thriller. Logan, you're watching the game as well. Your thoughts?
To me, it's a testament of the team that is Texas A&M and the AD that Cade Padgett is. I played Clemson played Michigan week 3, and incredible Michigan team. You have to really lock in on your settings and just hope and pray to beat that Michigan team. The fact that they were on here as a 13 seed is just shocking to me. I mean, Texas A&M really had their work cut out for them with them.
Well, Texas A&M chose them, and they had a lot of teams to choose from. They chose this pain, so I don't know. Go ahead. I don't know if it's.
That's more of a. I think that's more of a compliment to Ike probably than it is to Cade Padgett, knowing that Cade was the one that chose Michigan.
Yeah.
To your point, but but in the defense of Cade on this one, they've got Florida State next, and if they win that, they're going to have the winner of Alabama and Colorado. This does not get any easier for Texas A&M. Sorry to inform you, Cade. So, I really,
he's got that left side of the bracket. I think we talked about it before the show. I think is the tougher side right now, at least on paper.
Yeah, it's to me though it is a testament. I mean, and Michigan. I mean, I'm looking at this. It's Michigan. It's a shame. I mean, all I'm going to say is it's a shame they got put out the way they did, because had you said, you just kind of said it, if they're on the other side of the bracket, not saying they would have won, but would have been a similar fashion.
Yeah.
How funny is it we're talking about Cade?
Yeah, he's in the group chat. Yeah, we're messing us. Yeah. So Cade's on a flight right now. We were going to have him on the show, but he's no, I don't think it would not work. He could try.
Cool, but
I mean, he's in the middle of the ocean. Hopefully he's still in the airplane.
That would be helpful.
Castaway, man, that's a crazy movie.
Oh boy. But so great side, and the other part of this as well. So we'll get to this next round in a minute. A&M wins that game, and you kind of said it. They get Florida State next week, which have fun with that. The Jimbo Bowl, we'll call it. And then you get either Alabama or Colorado. Like, it doesn't stop for them, but A&M again, maybe pulling a playoff masterpiece. Last season, going to the national championship. Obviously, they lost, but since what was it? I'm pulling up the stat here. Since I think that's week 5 or 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think since like week 4. They beat Colorado, lose to Oklahoma, 1, 2, 3, now 4 straight weeks with a win, and again a team that was 1-4 going into week 6. Like, all the credit to Texas A&M, as now I wouldn't doubt them in any game. I mean, Florida State's gonna be tough, but Texas A&M, they're built for these playoffs. It seems second year in a row they're doing something like this. So good luck to them. We already covered a little bit on the Auburn and Colorado game. Colorado comes back, wins that one. Any other games you guys want to touch on before we move on?
I mean, are you talking about just on the left side or in the first round period?
Just first round period.
I mean, how can we not talk about Ohio State?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't as close because it was just the irony, right? 15 seed takes out number 2.
Yeah, I mean, it started out close, and then they turned on the afterburners, and it was wild.
And I believe that was the final game of round 1 as well. Just quickly going through it, Tyree, 500 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, runs for another 46 yards and a touchdown too. I mean, this is the Ohio State offense we've been talking about for, let's see, 2. I mean, it's just an air raid season, air raid kind of.
I actually missed a little bit of what you said there. I think there was a small connectivity issue. If I understand what you're asking, yeah, you're good, man. If I understand what you're asking, you're talking about the utilization of the air raid in the playoffs, in particular this past week.
Reset the mic there. You able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You froze up for a small second.
Oh, gotta love my Wi-Fi. All right, go ahead. Yeah, no, I was talking about just the game in general and your thoughts on it.
Oh, I mean, you're in reference to Ohio State and USC. I mean, there's no secret that USC and I'd say Auburn are really 2 of your biggest dynasties over the past couple of seasons. And you kind of alluded to it earlier. That right side of the bracket, just in general, is very interesting. I mean, you had higher seeds winning, and Ohio State versus USC is one of the ones, believe it or not, that I maybe would have expected to potentially happen. I mean, not saying I would have picked Ohio State over USC, but if I would have had to say,
I think we did.
Yeah,
Where did we pick them last week?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's unsurprising to me. I mean, Assured and Jordan Baker and really just the entire Ohio State staff is top tier. Miami needs to be very careful. I played Miami. They were playing against Miami earlier this season, and they're heck of a team themselves. But I think we were a drop touchdown pass away from beating them. So very doable. Ohio State's a very elite team.
Yeah, and they'll have a tough test in Miami in round 2. Just from there, moving on. That top right side, I know we were kind of talking about the left side of the bracket here. You got Miami, who I think, that Florida game, obviously they controlled the pace. Bo Yost, excellent again there. That game, Miami, Ohio State, I think it's going to be a thriller. Very pass-heavy team versus a run-heavy team. And you go to the bottom right side of the bracket. I know we didn't talk too much about it, but UNC takes down my Michigan State Spartans. They look really, really good in that game. Texas takes down Virginia Tech. I did not see that one coming. I thought Virginia Tech was my pick, I think, outside of Michigan State, of maybe who could make a run. And now Texas, I mean, they showed out too. So good games all around in the first round. No more thoughts on that, guys?
I'm a big believer in Ryan Moreland. So that one surprised me a little bit considering the team that is Virginia Tech. But Moreland has proven He's very familiar with the teams here, and I think that shows in his work a lot of times.
Very, very entertaining first round of the playoffs for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll move on from there. Excuse me. Ugh. I'll move on from there. Let's see. What do I got down here? So we talked about the first round. I guess we can talk about the second round matchups, the quarterfinals. This is really where it gets tough. I mean, there's no easy games if you made it to the final eight. Clearly. I guess we can either go in order of the schedule, or we can all go in order of the bracket. I mean, we already talked a little bit about it, but I guess we'll start there. Alabama, Colorado. We talked a little bit about, your opponent Ware on, I think it's Tuesday, right?
Correct. Tuesday night.
Yeah. Talk me through the game prep for that, because that's, it's a very different test than Colorado.
I mean, Colorado, you got Sky Sanders who does a great job pushing it through the air, and then you got Taylor James, a generational talent, and you got to if you can't slow him down, you're not going to win. And Daniel Blackman is a receiver also that's very dangerous. So they've got some big time playmakers on offense that if you can't play defense, you better be able to score a bunch, because they're going to. And so you look at their last couple games and what they've been able to accomplish playing spoiler week 7 and 8, and they almost beat Oklahoma as well. And so they are on a hot streak. They are riding the momentum right now. So they're going to be a really dangerous team. And that 8 seed doesn't mean anything to me. Just like the 16 seed didn't mean anything to me. We know that it's a battle, and if we slip up and try to overlook them in any form or fashion, we know that things may not go the way we want.
I find this kind of funny. I'm just pulling up the Colorado team statistics this year, so just basic statistics. Taylor James, 1,127 rushing yards comes as advertisement. Combined, the rest of his team has about 100 rushing yards. It's like 95% of the rushing yards on this team are from Taylor James. Sky Sanders has some sacks, I think, kind of plays into it, but it's still kind of hilarious that he's been that dominant, and not only that dominant, but that game changing. Bo Yost on Miami, we talked about a minute ago, I think is very similar, especially in the red zone. But Taylor James in out in the open, I think maybe the best right now in the CFL. I don't even know if it's close. Timoteo Este has that big playability as well as a quarterback. But at least for now, it's him and Yost for the best running back in the CFL. It's going to be a fun game as well. You guys, I assume, are going to pass a little more. I guess we'll see what the weather forecast has where. I guess you don't have to talk about your strategy pregame.
Yeah, no, that's we're still working on some things. But one thing about Taylor James too that we haven't mentioned, he had 47 receptions this year, 335 yards. So he's not just a running back. He gets out there in the open and can catch the ball. And I mean, he's dangerous. There's no questions about it.
Yeah. And so I'll move actually Logan to you on the next one. This could be the bottom left side of the bracket, according to Johnny. Which shout out, by the way, to Johnny for another great graphic. We do that every week because, I mean, it really is great. I'll probably post it at some point in the podcast. But Florida State versus A&M, right? You have, Tom, right, the game planning maestro versus an A&M team that we've talked about how streaky they are. Logan, I'll give it to you. What do you think about that game? What are your thoughts as a opponent in the ACC?
Yeah, being part of the grand tree as well, try to not show too much bias. Bear Michaels is like a quarterback I haven't seen before. It's very, very interesting how they've utilized him this season, and how mid-season or somewhere mid-season they just totally changed to the quarterback that he is, even though he was still great. Either way they went. And then you've got this ridiculous defensive backfield at Florida State. Texas A&M is going to have to find a way, which they very well can. They have the capabilities to run the ball on Florida State. There's going to be almost no way they're going to be able to have heavy pass attack against those guys. So Cade knows this clearly. Again, very awesome athletic director himself. So gonna be interesting to see what Cade has to do here to pull this out of his back pocket. I think Texas A&M is the better seed, but I don't know. I mean, it's not surprising. I think it's a 4 and a 5 seed, so it's not surprising to me that they're very close on the bracket.
I could see Florida State. I mean, A&M's at home. I could see Florida State being the betting favorite on this one. Let me pull it up here. The content team pick'em, because Florida State, I think, was one of the most popular choices, just from the content team in general, to win the national championship. Yeah, every content writer except me, don't look at what I chose. They chose them to go to the national championship and win it. So I would not be surprised if Florida State is your betting favorite in this game. But I mean, A&M, they've proven time and time again, do not underestimate that team. I'm actually I don't think if Florida State is the favorite that they will be the favorite by much. I think it will be a maximum 2.5 point cover. I guess Gunn, he'll be listening to this and now immediately make it a 7.5 point cover to make me look stupid. But it should be, I think of my pick of these 4 quarterfinal games, that's my pick for maybe the best, most anticipated game to watch, just on paper. And so we'll move on unless Ware has anything he wants to add.
I just want to say I think the way it matches up, I think A&M's a good team, and Logan said that A&M's going to have to run really well. I don't know if that team's set up to run. So if they can pull it off, I think it's really going to be – it's going to take a top-notch game plan. So how much game planning is Cade doing in London is the question.
Yeah, because he's telling us via text that he's not simming right now. So we'll see what Grin takes with that information, too. No, you can never get it past him. All right, so Miami, Ohio State. We touched on this earlier. Ohio State, maybe the most pass-heavy team in the CFSL. Miami, I guess it's between them or Colorado, the most run-first team in the CFSL. I guess I'll start with you again, Logan. Holy, is that going to be a game?
68 points scored against a very awesome Florida team is a huge testament in these playoffs. I mean, but then I say that, and Ohio State scored 58 against, a 2 seed USC, so who historically has had a pretty strong defense. So I think it's going to come down to game planning again. And I think it's so stressful too as an AD and as a member of a coaching staff to know that you're maybe just a few slider points away from the matter of winning or losing a game. And this is a 15 seed versus a 10 seed. I don't know how many people in CFSL actually had that on their bracket predictions. I'm assuming it's pretty low.
I think there's one perfect bracket left.
Yeah. This was honestly not a game that I thought we would be seeing. And now I'm similar to what you said about Florida State and Texas A&M, I'm actually kind of anticipating this one too, because I would say that Ohio State and Miami both are underrated at being seated at 15 and 10, but I think that argument can be made. So.
Uh-oh. Oop.
Did we lose you?
Did you guys lose me?
Just for a second.
Oh, well, shoot. Sorry, continue what you're saying, because it's going to record locally, and no one's going to understand why I was like, ooh, but no, it's.
Wait, what was that? What was that we're going to?
That was about all I had to say. I just think they're very underrated teams, but I'm not saying anybody that was above them was overrated by any stretch of the means. I just think that was the nature of the parity that Mike loves to talk about all the time.
Well, here's the thing. There is some parity elements to it, but there's also the fact that USC decided to pick Ohio State. Could have picked almost anyone else. There's some parity in this league, but I don't think, if we were to rank the teams 1 through 16 in these playoffs, that Ohio State would be number 15. there is a little bit of choosing at play there. But I mean, you did mention it. Every team on the right side of the bracket is a 10 seed or higher. So guaranteed one of the national championship teams is going to be either 10, 11, 14, or 15 in the bracket. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Here's the interesting part. Ohio State, yes, they are the second highest passing offense. They are also the third most sacked offense. So Miami's defense can get some pressure and really cause some havoc for Jalen Tyree. So how well is his playmakers going to be able to get open? And will they be able to get Emily Davis going to help, free up the passing game? But I think I can foresee that game being almost a rematch, or another, Texas A&M Michigan type game where it's going to be a lot of points. It's going to go to, they're going to be close to overtime, if not overtime, as both of those teams can score a plethora of points. And I went complicated on the words just to mess with you both.
Yeah. So Ohio State, yeah, and Miami going to. I agree with you. I think it'll be a very high scoring game. I mean, both teams obviously scored 58 and 68 points in that first round game. Not that I say it's going to be a 7-3 thriller, but it should be a lot of fun. And we'll move on to the second round game. Excuse me. Texas, UNC. I mean, this one's maybe the most interesting of the first four games, or the final four games, excuse me. Because you have, UNC, which has been, they kill us. Like no disrespect to them, but they've been such a hot and cold team this year. They clearly, are hitting their stride later in the season. And then you have a Texas team that I don't know if anyone last week on our podcast Ware picked to win over VT. And that's not a disrespect to Texas. They are a good team, but we saw Texas A&M make a run last year, I think, as a lower seed. Just really no one expected them to go far. I get a lot of vibes now from that Texas team. And I guess I'll start with you, Ware.
Yeah, well, you got to look at week one. Texas is going to come in with motivation. 2 straight seasons starting week one with some lopsided losses to North Carolina. And then, Texas always gets it going. Week 7 isn't their week. They always take week 7 off, it feels like. Not just joking, but they have lost week 7 both years in a row. But I do feel like they are a team that is very focused on not just winning a playoff game here. I think they're focused on, look, losing to North Carolina in week 1, that's not who we are. Let me show you who we are. So I think there's a lot of vendetta going to go into this game. If I'm Ryan Moreland, I would sell my soul just to make sure I win.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, clearly, like you said, some earlier bad blood. Again, 11 versus 14. The only other team that's that low a seed that's still in this is Ohio State, who we just talked about probably should not be the 15 seed. USC just made a grave error in who they decided to take. This should be a fun game because obviously whoever wins it, I don't care who wins this game. I think there's still an underdog against either Miami or Ohio State, and I think both of these teams could beat Miami or Ohio State given the right sim. So, Logan, your thoughts?
North Carolina, first half of the season was one team, second half of the season was another. It's like it was either 3 out of the last 4 or 4 out of the last 5 of their games. But to me, again, kind of goes back to how tough the conference is. Truth be told, I would not want to be Daniel right now. He's a phenomenal leader, phenomenal AD, with a phenomenal team, a lot of very powerful players on that team. But again, I think, we're looking at the result of Texas beating a very excellent Virginia Tech team by quite a few scores this past week is reflecting to me. North Carolina was the last team picked or voted in. So similar to what you had said. I mean, Virginia Tech picked interestingly round one by picking Texas, but I don't know if I would want to be North Carolina right now, knowing that you're facing a lower seed and a very strong Texas team that really covers their bases pretty well across the board. I mean, I look at Texas and I'm like, what are they bad at? And it's not really anything, which I would hope in the quarterfinals of CFSL playoffs, there's not a team that's bad at anything. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll take your point, and I don't want to call out Ryan here because he's got a great team, but if Texas is quote unquote the second worst or the worst on paper team left in the final eight, like there was a point just a few weeks ago we thought they were going to win the Big 12. Like it's a very complete team, as you say. I think, Texas, if they win, and especially if they get Ohio State as a matchup, I like that Texas defense versus Ohio State in the semifinals. And then you're talking about the number 14 team in the national championship. Or, you take it the other way around. UNC beats Texas, and they get, say, Miami instead. That's a familiar opponent in the ACC. Maybe UNC beats Miami, and they're a number 11 seed in the national championship. So we talked about it earlier. I'll say it before we move on, where I'll let you get into. No easy game here from here on out.
And I apologize. I forgot to mention there's one thing that I know Texas is out for blood, but North Carolina, Mike made a comment in the North Carolina game that Matt Pack has been doing some game planning. Logan,
yeah.
I know that that may not mean a whole lot to you as far as experience, but let me tell you, if Matt Pack is game planning and we're talking about playoffs, that's kind of a little cherry on the topping for North Carolina. That's different than week one, when I don't think he was doing any game planning in week one. I think this is something recent, and that could make North Carolina dangerous, and Texas is going to have to figure out how to overcome that.
The best thing about Matt Pack is he's going to be humble about it. Like
he's not. No, he's not.
Shoot.
Look,
I mean, if
I
we
had
know
him on my team
Matt
for
Pack,
4 seasons, and I'll tell you this: if you're Texas and Matt Pack is game planning, be very, very scared.
Yes.
Old timers know. Oh my boy! When I was first a player in the league, I saw him wreck. This was the first game I watched in this league. Was when he wrecked a team in the national championship.
Season 6.
Hell yeah! But we'll move on from there. 4 great games on tap. It's gonna be, just a great week in general. You're gonna have obviously the quarterfinals and then the semifinals on Thursday, and then the national championship coming right up. And speaking of which, before the national championship, we talk about awards, the award nominations for the major on-field awards, or just major awards in general, out. We'll go through them. Obviously, and I guess I'll start at the top of this. Alabama nominated for quite a few of them. A bit of an honor for you, Ware.
Absolutely. It's fun. No matter what your team is, when you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into something and you start to see in the public eye to pay off, it's nice and it's fun to it's great to see, and makes you feel good to know that your team's being recognized.
Yeah. So I agree with that, and I'll go through this. I have a little game we can play with this that will make it a little bit, instead of just having you talk about all the Alabama players that got nominated, we'll play a little game, who should win and who do you want to win. So it has to be 2 different players of the, what is this, like 6 or 5 nominated. I guess we'll have to figure something out when we get to content creator at the bottom, but
yeah.
Where, I guess I started with you. Who do you think should win this award? And who do you want to win this award? It has to be 2 different players. Yeah.
I'm just going to be on. I'll just start with this. I'm not going to pick Alabama players for any of them, just to be completely unbiased. They know how I feel about them, and I'll leave it at that.
That works too.
So, I think Jamison Gold could win. I think, even though the rough final game, but I think Bo Yost will win.
So who you want? Your want is Jamison Gold. Should is Bo Yost.
Yes.
Alrighty. What about you, Logan?
You know, in that Mercy Rule loss that we had to Alabama week 2, Johnny Ray Davis looked really good. I mean, as I went back and looked. Statistically, it was his best game of the year. We had to call a spade a spade. So, due to that, I feel that I want Johnny Ray Davis to win the award. However, who I think could win it, man, you know, we talk about Ohio State a lot. I think that's been driven a lot by Jalen Tyree. Very athletic quarterback just in general. But then again, part of me thinks maybe this is just a quarterback-heavy class, and you know I was really impressed with how Bo Yost played against Clemson as well. So I could see Jalen Tyree or Bo Yost winning, though I prefer Johnny Ray Davis.
Alrighty. And then for me, I think want and should. I think Jalen Tyree right now has been, if we're going to go with a quarterback, which historically this is a quarterback award, Jalen Tyree, just the passing yards. Davis is going to have a case as well. I think it's between those two quarterbacks. So my should win, I think, is going to be Tyree. My want to win, though, I think it's Bo Yost. I mean, just to have the running backs win it, get the representation. I love it when a non-quarterback wins these kind of awards, and Miami's halfback has been more than deserving. He is more, I think, more touchdowns than anybody else in the league right now. You know, him and Taylor James competing for the rushing title. Great season for him. We'll move on to Defensive Player of the Year. So you got Texas linebacker Brandon Chen, Michigan safety Ryan Downey, linebacker from Oklahoma Akuma Hunter, Colorado cornerback Jules Sanders, Ohio State defensive end Jesse Stork, and then Ware's player, Alabama CB Roman Ware. Logan, I guess I'll start with you.
You know, I'm looking at Ryan Downey, and you know, decent game against Clemson. He came in on a lot of tackles. I think honestly, I would say that was maybe his strong suit of the season. You know, I know he had a number of pass deflections. He did have 2 interceptions against Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
You
stole my pick here, by the way. If you're going to take him for would or want or should win.
Part of me thinks though that, you know, and being a safety is hard. You know, my player is a strong safety here at Clemson. I actually am liking Roman Ware to want on this one. I think he did really well. I know this is not really a special teams award. It's a defensive player award, but I think Roman Ware showed the most complete performance as a defensive backfield player, who I think should win it. I really liked Akuma Hunter myself. You talk about a lot of just racking up the tackles, being at the right place at the right time, having a strong pursuit. I was really impressed this season, and I think that showed with Oklahoma. It was still shocking to me that Oklahoma wound up being the vote-in team when it all ended up being said and done, but I think Hunter was a big testament to that.
You know, we'll move on to Ware here in a second. I will say for Oklahoma, of those two, you know, offensive and defensive player of the award, player of the year awards, in terms of Big 12 representation, Oklahoma the only team with both categories. They're the only team with an offensive player nominated, and then you have Texas and Colorado joining the party for defense. Very bright future ahead for DT Hall and his team. David, your picks for should and want to win this award.
I mean, there's 2 players, Brandon Chen and Jesse Stork. So, you know, Chen, 91 tackles, 16 for a loss. And then Jesse Stork, who showed up big with 5 sacks this week, has 15 on the season. So he has 49 tackles, 28 for loss. I'd like to see Stork win, but I think Chen should.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, before we move on here, Akuma Hunter, really great. And, you know, Logan, you talked about it. I think who I want to win, and this is crazy to say he's a Michigan State guy, but Ryan Downey, I guess I have to join the party because he was so dominant last year as an All-American. He comes back this year, He has that performance against us, but I think he has been the cornerstone of that Michigan defense. And if Michigan had a team MVP for this season, I understand Wyndham Carter had a great season. It might be Downey. He really has been an all-around beast for that team. Should win, and I know Ware's not going to shout out his own player here, but I wrote for the SEC again this year. I followed the SEC pretty closely. At least for me, he was my SEC overall MVP, offense or defense this year. He was a very complete cornerback and probably up there for maybe the best defensive seasons of any player in the SEC in its history, just going by the stats. So, Ware, I'll give you that shout out this one and only time for an Alabama player. I just shouted out a Michigan and Alabama player, by the way. Talk about how painful that was for me to do that.
I appreciate you.
So we're actually, I'm not going to, because I just realized as we're going through this, we can't just have the same players here. So for fan of the year, we're not going to have two guys. I'm just going to make you guys choose one. You guys can't choose the same one for fan of the year. And I'm going to take Deep State. I'm going to go first here because I vote for him every year until he gets a win. He's about 0 for 7 now in this category. Something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But I'll shout him out. Where, who you got?
I'll go Nico Dennis. I think he's done a great job representing Tennessee, which in previous seasons hasn't had a whole lot of public eye, and I think he has been a big part of Tennessee's success. So I think his visibility for that school is going to be huge this offseason.
That's another guy we got to get on the show. I think he wants to jump on. All right, Logan, who you got?
I was actually going to pick Nico Dennis. My first ever head coach / AD that welcomed me to the CFSL was Uncle Tiny, and it's been a long time coming, and I'm very proud to see that he has a supporting cast in the most literal sense possible, having Nico Dennis there with him. Nate Snare, a royal pain in their rear end if he's not on your team. Just royal. That's I'm fair. Like, who are you? Go back to wherever you were before this, and leave us alone. But I gotta pick Nate Snare. Really, he comes in and he compliments this turnaround by Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's next to last in the ACC last season. They turn around, become conference champions, and now, they're everywhere, whether that's on the field, in the standings, on the league chat, and his name is always on all of it. So Nate Snare for me.
It's so well deserved for him and whoever wins this. It's always one of the more fun awards in this league. I'll take that straight into AD of the year nominations because Moochie Main, ADV Tech, he's been on this show before. Clearly going to be one of the top nominees. In fact, if we did a should win, want to win, I think Moochie is probably the odds-on favorite for this one. There's talk. I think Cade can get in, and then we got to talk about David going 8-0. You get nominated for this award. I'm not going to stick too long on this because it's literally just you nominated for this award, Dave. But I guess this is not your first time nominated for this award, but, just to get nominated, congratulations.
I appreciate it. Actually, it is my first time to be nominated for it, believe it or not.
Wait, what?
I have never been nominated for AD of the year. Even when I went from 2-6, I took over 2-6 team and took them to 6-2.
I thought you were nominated that year. I don't remember what season it was.
No,
that's crazy to me.
I was not even nominated.
Well, you're nominated now. Congratulations. What about you, Logan? Who you want to win?
Who do I want to win? The man that's on the screen with us for sure.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Dude's a future Hall of Famer. He hasn't even been nominated before, much less won it. That's an easy selection for me. I love all the names on there, all top tier individuals, top tier ADs. I've learned a lot from so many, but it's got to be David Ware.
All righty.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Yost. You didn't ask me. You just asked about.
Well, I can't ask you. It's literally you who's nominated.
I know, but I told you I'm not gonna pick Alabama in some picks in any of them. So I'm gonna say Yost has put together a great resume. He's still, I think 4 or 5 seasons in. Got how many seasons for sure, but Miami is consistently a powerhouse, and I think he deserves the recognition.
Yeah, I know he's one of your former coaches. He was here in Tampa last hangout. We had a lot of fun with him. So, shout out to all 6 guys nominated. I think that will be one of the most competitive awards this year is who's going to win that. Most improved player. This has been told when I worked in the league office, maybe the hardest award to pick nominees for, just because going through it all and who's deserving. Is it just a guy going from a backup to a starter spot, or a guy improving? Where you have again one of your players, and then Clemson has one of your players too, Logan. So I guess for this award, I'll get you guys a minute here to talk about your players, and then you can talk about somebody else as well. Logan, I'll let you start.
Levi Smallwood. Let me just tell y'all a little bit about Levi Smallwood. This guy, he's a young man. He's just started actually working in the workforce not too long. I'm not going to get too personal about his personal life, but it's funny because Ryan Moreland talks about on the broadcast sometimes his name, and oh man, when he's in school, like it's a hell of a name to have, like Levi Smallwood. It's kind of funny he says that, and when that comment and joke first started coming around, actually Levi Smallwood was still in school. So, we're looking at this guy, and he's comes in as a 3-star last season, and now he's just like absolutely dominating on the line. And he's personal life is the last personal thing I'll say about him. He's moved states a time or two already in his tenure with the Clemson Tigers. That's only been for 2 seasons. So just really phenomenal story outside of the CFSL, and just really upright young man. And obviously I'm biased for him, but really looking forward to more phenomenal seasons out of him the next couple of seasons.
Alrighty. And then I'll let you talk about your guy, and then one more if you want.
I think the records, if you just look in the record book, it speaks for itself. Season 6 is when Alabama started, and Joe Pantoja rushed for 1,141 yards. Until that, since then, only one player has broke 900 yards. That was Tyrone Blake. He had 993. This week, Mai is 53 yards away from breaking 1,000 yards. It's only the second halfback in Alabama history. And last year he started and only rushed for 415 yards. So 11 touchdowns this year. I think he's done a great job. And I think the halfback game is really strong. I think Ryan Greenfield is another guy. Last year, 109 rushing yards. This year, 605. He had 1 touchdown last year, 9 this year. So, I love the running game, and I love seeing both these halfbacks really just have a huge jump in production.
Yeah, we talked about those 2 guys already. I guess I'll add mine. Jamarcus Simpson, he's nominated for Offensive Player of the Year. We didn't talk about him for that, but USC, maybe a little bit underrated because of the early playoff exit, but that offense has just been so well put together. Maybe one of the most entertaining games of our season for Michigan State, even if we did end up losing to those guys this year. So I'll shout him out. And then, LSU gets 2 guys as well, Demontre Bones, Dakota Sidrus, how do you pronounce that?
Sidrus.
And so for an LSU team, last year that was, going through a transition. You get a new AD this year. I think I'll shout those guys out as well. Great work from them. We'll combine these 2, freshman and most outstanding senior, just because there's a lot of guys here to go through. But 1 pick for freshman and most outstanding senior. I'll get it from both of you. I'll start with Ware this time.
I don't want to do this, but you know what?
You have to. I know who you're looking at.
I got 2. Actually, all of them well-deserving. For freshmen, I'm tied between Kelby Fulton and Bear Michaels. What Kelby has done as a freshman at Tennessee has been phenomenal. What Bear Michaels has done has been phenomenal. So give me a coin flip on them. And then most outstanding senior. This is the one I think Jamarcus Simpson. I know he's nominated for 2 others. This is one I think that he deserves. He is the all-time receiving leader, the all-time receiving yards, all-time touchdown leader. That's why I don't know about most improved, because he's had a great career and he's number 1 in USC history. So I don't know about the most improved part, but most outstanding senior, I'll take Jamarcus Simpson.
All righty. What about you, Logan? You need to unmute yourself. That'd be helpful.
It would. The
I've done it
freshman
before too.
freshman of the year, I'm liking. It's a little. I don't say there's bias here, but did win a SEC title with him at Auburn in season 20. Played with him at Texas for a couple of years prior to that. Noah Radloff had a phenomenal season. I think I'm seeing 82 tackles this year with Texas A&M. I'm a little salty. Wanted him this past off season, and then Cade beat me to him. Top tier individual again. I know I was singing Bear Michaels' praises earlier. Wouldn't hurt my feelings to see him win that award either. Really, none of these guys would hurt my feelings. I like Kelby Fulton as well. Again, another success story for Tennessee. Most outstanding senior. He didn't have his greatest games week after week. I mean, their season was really kind of a valley, and a lot of that does start under center at quarterback. But I do like Wyndham Carter from Michigan.
I thought you were going to choose somebody else. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to start shitting on me.
Oh, no.
You were talking about that.
Everyone's not out to get you.
I thought he was going to choose like Joe Beatty, be like, yeah, it was terrible. He was so bad under center. And he said that. And I was like, oh, man, we're going to have a problem.
No, I really liked Wyndham Carter under center for Michigan.
Yeah, well deserved. So, freshman of the year, I want to touch on what Ware said. Kelby Fulton, I think, will win this award, either him or Bear Michaels. I think for Tennessee to have a guy not only nominated, but I think a good chance he might win this award. I want to shout that out because what a turnaround Tennessee has made. We've talked about it so many times on this show, but Tiny, he's put together a great team this year, so I'll shout that out. And, Radloff was one I was going to choose too. Logan took that from me. I guess I will be a little bit biased here. I'll shout out my teammate and coach, David Michael. Freshman of the year, I think he had a really solid season bailing my sorry ass out at QB. And so I'll shout him out. And I'll shout out Beatty too. Both of those guys really making me look better than I am. And I already didn't look great. So Wyndham Carter.
I've never been one to argue with you, Cole, so I'm not going to start now. Okay?
Definitely not. Nope. Wyndham Carter and Ryan Downey. Again, I talked about the Michigan guys. Well deserved for them. And then where you kind of said, I think Jamarcus Simpson does win this award in terms of who I think wins it. But, I mean, Bo Yost is nominated too. We talked about him earlier as well. So a very competitive award at Most Outstanding Senior. And so for the last few awards here, I'm not actually going to have you guys choose a team because there's not a whole bunch of variety here. Team Spirit, Alabama, Auburn, Florida State, USC, and Virginia Tech, all great choices. Instead, I guess I'll just talk about it. Where you're nominated for this award as a AD for your team. Just talk about, I guess, what Team Spirit means to you, this award.
So, first season in the league, season 8 at Miami, we won Team Spirit. Our first season at Alabama in season 9, we won Team Spirit. And so every recruiting cycle, that is like Team Spirit to me, it's a complete picture. It means everyone is bought in. No matter what the results are, everyone is invested. Everyone's proud to be where they are. Everyone represents their team on and off the field with class. And that's the environment and culture that I expect. And so to me, this is the biggest award. It is Team Spirit because it's not one person. It takes the entire organization being a top-notch organization, and one person can't do it alone. So I think it is the biggest award out there, and it's to be nominated again. It's been my goal to get back to that since winning it season 9. That was a long time ago, and so it's an honor, and it's the one that I want to bring home more than anything on a personal level.
Yeah, well said. Logan, I'll let you pipe in there.
Yeah, David really said it. I actually won this award with Auburn in season 20. I just think back to that team. We came up just short in the national championship. It was at Hangout in Florida this past year. That was our Super Bowl. And I look back at the folks on that team. I mean, you've got Measy, we had Rob, we had Jeff Melanishin, and so many other people that were just in, Percy King was another one. Noah Radloff was there. TD Hurt. It was just as David said, you almost have to have everyone on the team doing this, or you're just not going to win it. It's a very competitive award. Who I've seen do very well with this year, Bama is in there. Virginia Tech, again, kind of goes back to what I had mentioned earlier about Nate Snare. Like, if Nate Snare's in there, he's going to have like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys following right behind him back to back to back in the league chat or in the comment section of Twitch or YouTube Live. It's awesome to see really all these teams doing what they've done this year, but I do like Virginia Tech on that one.
For the record, I do think it would be hilarious if Pyro Falcon somehow got a Team Spirit award, but he's nominated and I'm not, so he can shit on me all he wants.
He's my Sunbelt Conference brother. I have no beef with Pyro Falcon, though he tries to have some.
He's been on the show too. He's a fun guy.
Yeah.
So Team Spirit, I mean, something I took pride in at Auburn, even if our record wasn't great. Something we got nominated for quite a bit. You guys said it pretty well. I won't rehash those points, but it's really a special award in this league, and I think all 5 teams this year are deserving. We'll see. You know, again, it is a very competitive award. Who gets it? But I could see any of the 5 teams. I mean, Alabama, I could see you guys getting it. Auburn, I could see them getting it. Florida State's always a contender. USC's always a contender. And then VT's the new guys on the block. So it should be a fun award to watch. Broadcast of the year. This is the last one I guess we'll do. So yeah, you have Jeff Melanishin, my buddy, and longtime Auburn guy, longtime broadcaster, Ryan Moreland. Yeah, I saw that coming.
You're taking points away from him.
Okay, I see. Ryan Moreland, I guess I don't want him to win to take my record away, but he's kind of already done that because he's got 4 solo wins versus my 2 solo wins. But another great guy, Nate Murphy, who I vote for every year until he gets a win. I think he needs a win. Maybe this is the year we can push him over the top there. Such a great broadcaster, and I think he's so underrated in that. Cade, obviously the new guy to the block, but along with being an AD, he's been a great broadcaster. And then David, I mean, you won it last year. You might get it again. This thing's kind of streaky, this award. Like I won it 4 times. Then Ryan won it 4 times. Mike, back in the day, he was winning it a few times in a row. I guess, Logan, I'll get your quick thoughts, and then we'll get back to David, because David obviously has been doing this well, too.
Yeah. The quick answer for me here is I like it's my favorite crew is when Nate Murphy and Ryan Moreland are calling a game together. That is like just the most crisp duo. I don't dare I say CFSL history, but at least since I've been here since season 17, it's been awesome. Individual wise, I promise, David, I'm not saying this because you're sitting here. I've done that. I've said a lot about Alabama today. Individual wise, I like David a lot when he calls these games. Perhaps, not to slash on anybody that's called games with David, but David just really takes the broadcast by storm when he's on there. And that's, not to hurt anybody else he's called a game with.
Well, no, David, I guess I'll give you a chance to talk about it, but you've had a few things that have gone for you the last few seasons in the booth. Your catchphrases, the screaming touchdown at the top of your lungs, it brings a different energy to the booth. So I'll let you talk about the broadcasters here.
I want to mention Cade Padgett. So everyone else on this list is Twitch guys who get the most exposure. Cade Padgett, in his first full-time season on YouTube, it took me several seasons to even get on the nomination list. And he is doing it from YouTube, and he is an absolute joy to listen to. I want to call a game with him so bad. Actually, I want to call 2 games. I want to call one as play-by-play, he's color, and then I want him to do play-by-play and me do color. He is a guy that I absolutely love listening to, and his accomplishment is special. So I think he needs a lot of credit and recognition. I don't think it's if he wins a broadcaster of the year, it's a matter of when. As you mentioned, it is a streaky award, and so he will have a couple broadcaster of the year awards before he retires.
Yeah, well said. And all 5 of these guys, I think, deserve to win it. So we'll see where it goes with that one. So I'm not going to go into content creator of the year because two of us are on here. Except
Logan, you better pick. I'm joking.
Okay,
he's gonna
Ryan
pick,
Moreland.
he's gonna pick band. No, so here's the thing with that. For me at least, it is very appreciative, and we got that new award. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if I'm gonna count this, but the podcast has been well received. I think the off season's gonna be a lot of fun. I got the Twitter account running. I don't know if anyone was on Twitter saw that, but we will be back in the off season here in a minute. Before you know it, and it's gonna be great. So I guess we'll end the show on that. Like, I'm very appreciative of getting back nominated at all. I think it's been like 10 seasons since I've been. Whenever the last time I was winning Broadcaster of the Year, like that's the last time I got any nominations at all. So, David, congratulations on joining this cool list of 3 guys who get nominated for the first time, and we'll go from there. As always, I gave you guys 30 seconds to talk about your team. Clemson got eliminated, so you're going in the offseason. I'll give you a 30-second recruiting pitch here, Logan, and then we'll go to Ware.
The clock starts now. We just made history by getting back to the playoffs since season 16. There's only more where this came from. You've heard Cole talk on this call today. We're a very young team, even to this day. We're in a very difficult conference, but we're only getting older and more experienced, whereas they're losing more folks to graduation. So really looking forward to the future. Really excited about what we've got coming. Go Tigers.
All righty. I mean, you did it pretty good. David, I'll give you 30 seconds here. You still got a few playoff games to play, hopefully. Talk about your team.
I'm just absolutely proud of what they've done, and it shows in the nominations. It shows in the team spirit. But our coaching staff is 100% locked in. Our locker room is 100% locked in, and we know that we have a mission ahead of us. But we also know that we're built to run for several more seasons. We're not one and done. We are built to take this for several seasons. So I'm utterly excited, and I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful for the guys that support me and make it what it is.
I promise I'm not laughing at you, Ware, though I will do that from time to time. Venom is trying to dive bomb the podcast. He's trying to prank us. He's sending in some troll questions on the forum. He's DMing me. Unlucky for him, though, the podcast is over, so he didn't get a chance. We got to answer everyone else's questions, so I'll shout out SS Keller. We got his what drafted team surprised you most in round 1. We kind of went over that. And then David Climbs, who do you think? How do you think the bracket challenge will shape out? I guess we didn't really answer it, but we kind of talked about it. So I think that's all I got for this. And yeah, we'll end it there. I like this 3-person format. We might keep this for a while. Maybe not for the recruiting show, but I kind of like this. So I'd like to again thank David Ware, the AD of Alabama, for jumping on this show. He seems to be on here a lot. Maybe I should do something about that. I don't know.
Make me an official co-host.
We thought about it. We talked about it. We might do that. I was going to ban you, but that could be a better idea. Logan, I was going to ban you earlier. I'll officially unban you. It's great to have you on the show. Welcome back. Good luck to Clemson next season. Obviously, tough way to go out in round 1, but you kind of asked for it, so I don't really feel that bad. That's all I got for this show, guys. And we will see you next week. I mean, that's it for podcast number 28. Have a good one, guys.